Hey, there's somebody. We've been having all kinds of technical glitches this morning. This place that we're in is not cooperating. So we're live. I'm going to put my lower third up. We're late because I've been just struggling with this internet. So not good. Okay, we'll just go with what we got. I see someone made it, so that must mean it's findable. I've been putting it out there. It's rebooted and restarted about a half a dozen times. Oh, there's Joy. Okay, good. We're starting to get people. Okay, welcome to Saturday's Break the Cage. Grateful to have you here, and glad that you're excited enough about changing your life and doing good things to break the cage. Today, I said we were going to talk about three things, and they have to do with objectives. Everybody, Joy and Grizz, can you guys nod if you can hear me? Okay, cool. Am I looking okay? Do I look like everything's fine? All right, I see some nods, so we'll just move ahead. Again, I apologize for the glitches that we've had setting this up. We're in an office, our international office in Edmonton, and the internet connection here has been having trouble. They had the IT guys in last night, midnight, did a reboot on the system and some other stuff, and of course the internet provider is pointing at us, and everybody's doing this kind of thing. So I wasn't even sure we could get on this morning, and it rebooted 3 or 4 times. Server crashed on me like 4 times, started the call over, so maybe that's why the links were messed up. Anyway, all right, today we're talking about objectives. Objectives, goals, whatever you want to call them, and what they have to do with breaking the cage, what they have to do with achieving the things you want to achieve. So the first thing I put down that we were going to talk about is why clear objectives are critical. Now, in the results on a rampage, we talked about courageous planning, and so we talked about the need to do what by when. But we're going to talk today about the clear objectives and why that is essential to breaking the cage. And this is particularly important when you set a set of objectives, like you're doing something at work and you've got a team or there's 1 or 2 of you and you're working on something and the boss gives you some goals. You know, those objectives are pretty clear. You know that you have to finish this report by a certain time. You know what the form is. You know what ought to be in it. There's probably been similar things done before. So that's not a mystery, and it's not difficult. When we talk about breaking the cage, we're talking about personal change. Candidates for my Break the Cage 90-day program, I call them radical change candidates, you know, RCCs. Radical change candidates because they want to do something significant. Maybe it is let's talk about health, because that's an easy one. Lose a bunch of weight, get in shape, okay? Maybe they want to completely change the way they show up in life. They've been not maximizing their gifts and talents. They've been choosing to be lazy, not pursue, you know, powerful goals, and they just have this nag, this burn that they know they should be doing more, and they're finally ready. So the nag, lots of people have. People live procrastinating and beating themselves up about procrastination all the time, and sometimes they live that way for years. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the step past that, where you have said, you know what, I've been beating myself up for years. I'm tired of this. I am now ready to do whatever it takes to make the next thing happen. I'm now ready to move to a new level, a new layer, a new dimension in my life. So when you get to there, then it's like, all right, I'm in this ship and I'm ready to take off out of the harbor, and I'm going. Where? What will it look like when I get there? And often what happens is we get in the anywhere but here mode, right? Which means grass is greener anywhere except on the spot that I'm standing on. So I got to go somewhere. Maybe I got to go to a new city. Often people take the tack of, I just got to get out of here. Okay. That may be a start, but 2 things happen in my experience. One is you don't know where to go, and so you end up somewhere that's certainly no better than you are. And often you don't know what you're looking for, so when you go somewhere, you don't set it up in a way that maximizes your probability of success. So I have lots of personal examples in my family and of clients that have said, I've got to move cities, for example. I'm going to move. And one client, I'm going to be a nomad. I'm going to close down, sell all my places, and just be a nomad. Okay. And they're enjoying a little bit life as a nomad, but they're not accomplishing any of the things that they listed that they wanted to get done. They wanted to start a movement. They wanted to create some products. They wanted to start a coaching program. And they couldn't do it where they were. Actually, they could have, but they thought they couldn't. And their goal was, okay, if I move. And then they moved. And then they thought, well, this doesn't work. So then they did the nomad thing. So the point is, the first piece is to get clear about what you want something to look like. So let's talk about radical change candidates. I want to completely change my life. I don't like my job. I don't like what I'm doing. I don't like the way I feel every day. And so I want to completely change that. We'll take the typical one, right? I have a passion that I've always had. I want to pursue that. I want to help people is often one that's said, and that's a great one. But I chuckle a little because help people, you have to accompany it with exactly what will you do for them, and is that something they need? How will they find out about you, and what will they gain from that help? And so that's again about clear objectives. So let's talk about what clear objectives are and then why they are essential. First, what is a clear objective? A clear objective is something that you know exactly what it looks like. So I'm going to have $100,000 in the bank. That means I'm going to get on my online statement, or if you still do paper, get a statement in the mail that has balance of 100,000.00 or larger. That is a clear objective. In the first part, it will never happen unless you say, I'm going to have $100,000 in the bank by January 31st of 2015. So 5 months from now, plus or minus a few days, I'm going to have that amount of money, and my January 2015 statement is going to reflect that. Okay, so that is a very clear time-bound objective. Most things are not that cut and dried, like how many zeros are in your bank account, so that's a little hard. So let's talk about some other objectives. I want to start a business. All right. First question, what do you do? What do you provide for people? So I know Joy on here, as she's just popped off again, looks like she's having trouble with the same, she's in the building but not in my office. She's having trouble with the same the network like I was. I was going to ask her one of the objectives that she has, but I'll just ask Griswold, do you have I think you do, you are in business for yourself and you do some business online. Do you have another job besides that, or do you just do work online?
Pretty exclusive with the online business at the moment.
Okay, cool. So you are in business online and you help people. What do you help them do?
Generally administrative stuff, like calendaring and side projects, stuff they don't want to do.
Okay, cool. So I'm in love with administrative people, because without them, all of the executive experience that I had and all of the times that I was both a difficult and a really easy executive. I trusted my admins completely. I gave them complete access and authority to everything, including credit cards and everything, because I didn't want to have to worry about anything. And I just set these outcomes. I want to be here. I want to go to this conference. I want to do this, and this. I want these meetings set up. I don't care how you do it. Make it happen. And then I'd just get out of the way and just show up and assume that everything was there. So I'm saying that just because I was so enamored with that. And when I have changed and moved to a online business when I retired from my 30 years as an executive in 2008, 6 years, 7 years ago, end of 2007, I guess, it was a huge shock that I had to do all that stuff myself, or Joy helps me with some of it, but that was quite a change. So I love admin people that are good and that are reliable. So what does success, Grizz, this is back to you, what does success look like for you? How would you say I'm doing well?
If my clients are happy and I'm comfortable with, I make enough money that I can live comfortably while I do my work.
Okay. I don't know. There isn't a right answer. So clients are happy and making enough money. So if you were my client, I would, and I'm not going to pick on you anymore because I don't want to make you nervous, but I would pick on that. I would say, okay, how much is enough money? Exactly how much money is the minimum amount you need every month so that you feel like you have enough money to live? So you need to be making, I don't know, 3, 4, 5, 6,000 per month, whatever the number is in your circumstance, and this is how I know it's enough. And if it's below that, then I know I need to do some marketing activity and go get some more clients. Client happiness, I would ask you, how are you measuring that? Is happiness the lack of complaint, or is happiness a positive affirmation? This is really good, and they're giving you positive things. So both of those kinds of things are what we do, or what we can do to refine our goals and make them specific. Making a certain amount of money is a very common objective. Achieving a certain weight is a very common objective. Achieving a certain blood pressure for people with that problem, or blood sugar level, you know, whatever it is in health or cholesterol things, there are certain measurements, benchmarks, milestones. Personal satisfaction is a little harder. So one of the things, I'll share some of mine. So I do music. I've been a recording artist for 30-something years, and my first albums were out a long time ago in the 80s. I want to pursue that more. So I have released a number of songs over the last 4 or 5 years that are up on Amazon, but nowhere near the number that I want to, and nowhere near the number that are running around in my head. I do 3 kinds of music. I do one EDM, electronic dance music. I do jazz, and then I also do some sacred music that's religious. And so I need to establish some specific goals for release of those. I will release 3 songs every 2 months or 4 songs. I will do these certain things, and I need to. So I would not even would. This is not theoretical. This is a change I need to make. So I need to get my recording and composing and recording and release schedule tuned up so that I can actually feel like I am achieving the objective that I want to achieve. So now let's talk about that. So I think we've talked enough about what clear objectives are. They have to be clear enough so that you know when you've got them. So if it's making money, I need to make $5,000 a month, and it needs to be consistent. So sometimes our income's variable. One of the things my wife has done for a long time is run an online store, and income varies in that kind of thing. She does antiques and collectibles. Some months will be very good and others will be lean. So then you can say, all right, in the last 6-month average or 4-month average, I will average X or something like that. And that might be something for an online person like you, Grizz, where you say I average X per month over the last 3, 4, 6 months. But it needs to be measurable so that you know when you've got it. And the other thing is it needs to be time-bound. So this is do what by when, but it's a very, very clear elaboration of do what by when, which is exactly what will you have, what will it look like, and then by when. Now, let's talk about why that is so important. The obvious reason is I don't know when I've achieved my goal if I don't have that, right? Okay, so that's the obvious answer. But there's a far more important answer when you're talking about breaking the cage and making huge internal changes. If you don't have a clear vision of what it looks like, you can't engage that powerful emotional drawing, pulling, magnetism. If I think about, okay, I need to have an average of 5,000 a month, or 10,000 a month, or 20, whatever the number is. And when I have it, this is what I will do. I will be able to take that trip I meant to do. I'll be able to move to another place, but I'll be able to do it on my terms. I'll have enough money for the trip, for the deposits, for the rent, to buy a house, to buy a condo, because I have this. So it will feel good. And I can see myself in the condo. I can see myself on the boat, if it's a cruise ship. Whatever it is, I can see and feel. And I can tell you from experience that connecting to those powerful visions where you are drawn with that energy of feeling that emotional experience is key to overcoming obstacles. Okay, so let me ask, Joy's back on. I don't know if you can hear me, Joy. Grizz, I'm going to pick on you since I know you can.
I can.
What have you had a circumstance where you've had a goal or a desire that is so powerful that when you think about it, it creates an emotional response in you?
No, actually, I have a lot of difficulty deciding which one I really want versus all the ones I think I kind of want. So I don't know that I've actually created the successful vision strong enough to pull me yet.
Okay, that's actually not an uncommon thing. So I'm going to take a detour. Let me look at the time here. I'm going to take a detour for a minute and address that specific thing since you showed up on the call. It's kind of what I do in hot seats when I coach anyway, in my group coaching program. So one way to do that is to list 15 or 20 goals and then start eliminating them and saying, can I live without this one? Can I live without this one? Can I live without this one? If that's never happened, and start scratching them off. And when you scratch off one that says, you know what, I gotta have that. I gotta have that. Then you leave it on and you go on and you get to the point where you eliminate some of them. In fact, you probably will eliminate half or 2/3 of them because you think, yeah, I probably could live without that. I probably could. You'll get down to a narrower set and a narrower set. And you can do those in order. If you keep doing that, you just say, well, what would happen if I had this one and not the others? This one and not the others. And you go through and you can then eventually get them in kind of priority order and get maybe the top 5. If you get to where you scratch them all off and say, well, I could live without all of them, okay, then you don't have a complete list because you could put, I want to keep breathing on the list. Okay. I want to be healthy and actually be able to run around and play and jump around and do things, ski, snowboard, play tennis, I don't know what, hike, watch beautiful scenery. In other words, I want my physical body to function. Okay. I want to have a relationship that's deep and meaningful with another person, with God, with my family, not with my family. I want to get all away from all relationships with my family because they suck. I don't know. All of those things could be important. And then you keep going until you find ones that, you're actually not willing to scratch those off. I want to make at least $4,000, $5,000 a month because below that level, I just don't, I feel like crap because I'm, depending on other people. I'm not in control of my own destiny. And you can pick a number and say below that, I'm just not okay. Okay. Then you've made a line in the sand, and I'm giving you some examples, but making a list, scratching them off, and asking yourself honestly, can I live without that? Can I live without that? And if it's easy to say, yeah, I could, then it's not very important. When you start, and you flag those, well, whatever. And then if you get to some, no way can I live without that. Then you start getting a sense of what things are really important. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Instead of letting them all swirl around in my head, actually get it on paper and some serious introspection. Yeah, good idea.
Well, totally. I mean, it's worth it. And so here's the encouragement I would give to you and anyone that's listening that has this same concern, and it's not an uncommon thing that I encounter in coaching. People don't really know what they want, and they don't have any clarity about what will make them happy, and it is impossible to get clarity without doing some paperwork, writing things down. And as you do, reflect on them. What does it feel like to have this goal? And one of the things we struggle with, particularly when we're doing this the first or second time, is goals that other people kind of want for us. Well, my family expects me to this, or my significant other expects this, and my childhood programming expects this. And we enter with all these other things and write them down, that's fine. But so here's the key. 1, write them down. No judgment, no bashing about where they came from, childhood programming, parents, SO, who cares? Just write them down. Here's all the things I think I want. Who cares why I want them right now? Great. Then you go through an emotional exercise, and this takes a couple of hours. So set a couple of hours aside. Say, what would I do? How would I feel if I achieved this? And if the glow is principally external, so I achieve a goal, and I feel pride from my family because they think I'm cool, then you know that motivation is extrinsic or external, right? You say, That's not a goal that I have internally. That's a goal that's coming from outside. That doesn't mean it's bad. That just notes. So right, outside, inside, until you find the ones that I would feel really good. Not because somebody thinks I'm cool, and not because somebody said I'm supposed to, but I would feel really good about this. Why? Because it's something I want. It's something I think I should be, do, have. I think that. And what it takes is that trying it on emotionally. And I'm closing my eyes as I talk about it because that's often what I do when I think about it. What would it feel like to have this objective? What would it feel like, and at the same time, to never have it? Okay, if the thing is, what would it feel like to never have it? If you feel a sense of relief internally and you feel a sense of from outside, then you know that that's an externally imposed goal because you don't really care, and all you're doing is dealing with from outside. And so you can just scratch those off the list because those will never motivate you. And they will certainly never motivate you through difficult times. Okay? The motivation provided by someone outside of you going is not helpful. That's not, for example, what a coach does. A coach holds you accountable and might say, but it's only after you've worked through and found out what's inside. And you say, these are what I want after you go through this whole exercise. Then that's like, all right, so, you know, you've worked through and you really want these things. What's up with this accountability piece? That's completely different than a set of externally imposed goals where the emotional driver is, you know, shame or expectation from outside. Now, someone can outside of you can have an expectation, like you can be in a relationship and someone expects something of you, and you can consider that and say, you know what, I really want to do that. I actually want to provide that benefit, service, emotion for them. I want to internally. Okay, fair enough. And you can choose that and make that part of your reality, and then, you know, do that. I had a client who was like that. He was in a relationship and he didn't feel like he was providing the kind of affection that his spouse wanted to see. And so as we coach, one of the things that we did is set some specific goals about things that he would do to demonstrate that affection, but he was really clear that he wanted to. He was just clumsy and didn't really know how to do it. So he, you know, was really clear, I want to, and his desire was sincere and clear, but he didn't know how, and he would forget, and so we helped him overcome that. So those are all ways and different things we talk about why we've talked about why clear objectives are essential, because they won't pull you if they're not. Number two, especially when you're a radical change candidate, you're trying to break the cage, clear objectives and trying them on emotionally is essential, because until you involve the chemistry, the body chemistry that emotions create, you often don't have the power to keep going when things get tough. Because whenever we change things, we move against what's called habit gravity. The tendency, that's a term I heard Eben Pagan use. I don't know if he coined it or what, but I thought it was cool. Habit gravity is the tendency we have to just keep doing what we're doing, right? And I like that term. And it's the difficulty, the energetic inertia I've talked about other times, to making changes. Well, we all have it, and we all have to struggle against it, just like we struggle against gravity. So in that context, overcoming habit gravity, or the tendency to stay where we are, requires motivation. That motivation comes from one, from commitment. I've decided to change. So I lay it down, and then the public commitment and a coach and all those things magnify that commitment. And then we also create the emotional draw by, what would it feel like when I have it? Oh, it's going to feel really good. That draw is greater than the habit gravity or the laziness quotient that keeps me parked where I am and not taking action. Okay, so we're a little bit, all right, no, you started late, so we're good. The second thing I said we talk about is goals versus wishes. Goals versus wishes. Goals are the things that have all the characteristics. So I'm going to do this one quick. They have all the characteristics of what we've just talked about. Wishes are that other crap. You know, that other nonsense that floats in my mind. I'll be happy when this happens. I'd love to make a lot of money, but I'm not even willing to think about what it would take to do. I want another job, but I'm not going to go look. I want to fix this relationship, but I'd rather keep yelling at you. You know, whatever it is, all those things until we do the things that we've just talked about to create powerful, compelling, magnetic goals, they're just wishes. They're just wishes. And what we usually do with our wishes is we accompany them with excuses and about why it's somebody else's fault. Hey, Joy, I see that you've joined us. Can you speak? Are you there? Sounds like not. Still having trouble with this internet here in the building. But anyway, okay. So that's the difference between goals versus wishes. Grizz, you told me that you'd never really created really magnetic goals that were powerful draws for you, but that you had things floating around in your mind. So I have a question for you. When you think about the difference between goals versus wishes, do you have any examples of the goals versus wishes thing that you have either seen in yourself or seen in others, the difference between just sort of wishing something happened and the change that happens when someone decides, I'm going to do this? Have you seen that?
All that's coming to mind right now is that the difference between goals and wishes is whether or not you're willing to do the work and introspection you talked about just a moment ago to make it a goal instead of a wish about the thing. And if you're not, then it's just a wish. But I don't recall seeing anybody's examples.
Okay, well that's perfect, because you've nailed it right on the head. If you're willing to do the introspection, lay down the objectives and the timeline and do the work, then it's a goal, because you can measure it and it drives you. Besides that, it's just a wish. So the third thing we're going to talk about is creating a personal 90-day map. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Oh, hey, can I make a couple of comments?
Please do. I'm loving it.
Okay,
Grizz was probably hoping you'd come on so you'd rescue him.
Well, I have to deal with the settings here, and anyway, so like goals and wishes. So I think, a wish a few years ago. So when I built up my antique store online on eBay, my dreams was to be one of those top-rated sellers that everybody would come to and have 5 figures a month. So that was a wish, because I love antiques and I love selling, so I wanted to combine the two because I had a couple of stores, etc., in Canada. So, but that wish, I mean, then it's like, well, we had to sit down and say, okay, but what does that take? I mean, you had to have inventory. Of course, I have 50 years worth of inventory, so inventory wasn't a problem. But then it was the timing, and then we developed a very simple system of how to get 100 plus items, new items listed per week. And so then we started figuring out, watching how the trends are on eBay. Well, auctions tend to drive sales. So, it's not rocket science, but it does take some thinking, and it does take some planning, and the execution part that you're always talking about. So I was able to realize that dream of making 5 figures by but very simple steps. I think sometimes we think, we have to have a PhD in nuclear something or other, to do this stuff, and you don't. But you do have to have a clear plan, like a real plan, otherwise it's just a hobby, right? I mean, if we just have these loosey-goosey plans, we wouldn't go into any, so-called legitimate business and ask for a business plan and, have them hand you a couple of scraps of paper with some stuff written on it. So actually sitting down and writing a plan, which takes some work. Luckily, as a project manager in my old job, I, did lots of business plans. But, and then when you start to make some progress, you start to see that your dreams are realized, and it's very exciting because, once you chunk it down into bite-sized tasks and, weekly goals, it just becomes very exciting when you start to realize those and you say, hey, and I can replicate this, which means then if you can, duplicate and replicate it, you can teach it then, and, then you have a product, right? So some things are a little bit harder. I mean, my dream of, having this travel, I haven't even quite figured it out yet, European travel, because, we love to travel to Europe. So that's going to take a little bit more planning because, of course, we have to, we need reliable internet in these places, right? So,
we can't even get reliable internet here in this Canadian thing in the capital city right now.
Well, my mom has better internet. That's just so weird, but anyway. So, I think that's with every business I'm approaching is I'm using those simple steps, and they are simple. It takes work, but they're simple.
So that's fantastic input. Thank you, Joy. I'm going to recap a couple of those things because I've watched you, of course, because we're married, do those things. And I watched her create the system that got her up to getting 100 new listings up a week. And I watched her create a very impressive system about how to collect inventory from estate sales and so forth. Now, we live in Phoenix, which is a mecca for retired people. And one of the outcomes of that is there's lots of people that die because they're retired and they'll get old and then they pass away. So there's lots and lots and lots of estate sales and lots of stuff that shows up at there's numerous auction houses. And I watched her develop and use this expertise in a powerful way and then slowly but regularly build her income to the levels that she had discussed. And I know that she's got these other travel plans, so I can see and have seen her take these principles and use them. I want to talk about the last piece, and thank you for those comments. I was just, as she was doing that, I had my head away from the camera. I wasn't ignoring her. I was looking at the comments, and I see Preston and Rick and some others have been very active, and thank you. Our Hangout is a little thin this morning because I think probably because of my technical difficulties, but I really appreciate the comments and the stuff that you guys have added. And I want to do one more thing, and that is to create your personal 90-day map. Okay? All of this good stuff that I've talked about and all of this powerful advice about process and assurance that you can do this. Okay, I have never worked with a client that I could not help change who wanted to change. Now, I have interviewed clients and not hired them or let them hire me when I sensed that their true commitment to change was not good, because I knew that would be frustrating for them and a waste of time for me. Frustrating for them because I'm pretty aggressive about accountability because that's what I do. And a waste of time because I didn't sense any true commitment to them. But if you are committed, okay, if you are committed to being a radical change candidate, you can do that. Now, what you do is the first step is write down on a piece of paper the following. On day 91 from today, when you wake up in the morning, what does your life look like and what do you do? So let me give you some examples. Let's say I have a fitness goal and I want to lose 30 pounds, 10 pounds a month. On day 91, I get up at 6, I throw on my runners and my workout clothes and I run, or I go to the gym. I feel exhilarated and powerful because that weight and those rolls of fat around me that I hated so much are gone. I'm able to do this many sit-ups, push-ups, pull-ups, rows, box jumps if you're CrossFit, whatever it is, and I feel good about myself. I listen to my favorite music that I've been using to help me grind through this stuff. I love the way my body feels because it has responded to the powerful input and the powerful change that I have created around it. I leave my workout an hour later energized and on fire, knowing that any other goal that I choose to accomplish, I can. Now, that's a description of a day 91 workout for someone who has accomplished that goal. Holding then the vision of what you look like, and you can use that with any goal, okay? So let's say income, day 91, I have closed $20,000 worth of sales in my product, program, whatever. And on day 91, which is August, September, November the 20th, I'm rounding, I wake up and I have a regular income in my passive income. My PayPal thing goes off 3 times a day with $497 product sales. I look in there and regularly that shows up. And that is something I enjoy every day, and I'm able not to worry because I know that's coming. I then go check my marketing. I tweak my ads. I do what I'm doing. I'm talking about if you're in the internet business or an internet sales funnel for some other product. Those are the kind of details I'm talking about. So create yourself a day 91 vision that is full of detail and feeling and enjoyment and process and who you talk to and what you say, and create a whole picture and reality of that, right? All right, then you back it up and say, what is if that's day 91, okay, then what does day 60 look like? Where am I on that continuum? What does day 30 look like, right? Now, what's in the way today of making day 30 real? What's in the way? I don't have the tools. I don't really know how. I don't have a product yet. I'm lazy. I haven't been able to get the motivation. Okay. Any of those things can be in the way. And then they could be like the big elephant, right? The big elephant in the room is, let me give you a specific example. I want to have a certain income level from passive income from products that I have online. What's in the way? What's in the way? Well, I don't have the products created yet. Oh, well, that could be in the way. All right. When am I going to have the products created? Well, I really don't know because I don't know what they look like. Okay, good. So exactly what do they look like? Well, I don't know because I have to scope that out. Okay, good. When are you going exactly to scope that out? Calendar, okay, I've got 4, 6, 8 hours this next week. So by the end of the week, I will have put 8 hours. That's really enough. So by the end of next week, they will be scoped. Okay, good. After that, by the end of the next week, you know, you're going to shoot some videos, or you're going to do whatever it is. The curriculum will be fully designed, the videos will be shot, etc., etc. So then you can line out what it takes to get to day 30. Then I'm going to start the marketing, day 60 and day 90, and you can create the path. But without that kind of detail, and you'd be surprised, 99% of people will not put that kind of detail in planning. Oh, yeah, I'll get it done this week. No, you won't. No, you won't. Crap's going to intervene, and no, you won't. You're going to be sitting here next Saturday with the same amount done, or maybe some token, you know, scratches on paper. Okay, and I've seen that over and over again, and it's pretty disheartening for the person trying to do it. It's pretty predictable for me as a coach, but it's pretty disheartening because then it's like, oh, I said last week I was going to do it, bang my fist on the table, and I didn't do it. Well, of course you didn't do it. You didn't actually figure out how many hours you were going to spend, where the hours fit into your week, and so forth. And we all do that, and then have a week where, you know, all hell breaks loose, and the plumbing breaks, and the elephant falls on the house, and yeah, okay, whatever. Then the answer to there's bad week, do it again, right? We just have to make sure we don't fall into the trap of excuses. But anyway, that's what coaches do. So the key here is for all this talk about objectives to work for you to make whatever changes you want to make, then go create your personal 90-day map. A map, like a treasure map, where you start where you are, and you mark little dots, and X marks the spot, right? And then it's, you know, go to X first. Describe what it looks like and describe how it feels. And then pick milestones along the way. All right, I have come to where I've exceeded my time. I'm going to be quiet here and ask if either Joy or Griswold has anything they'd like to add to this conversation before we call it a wrap.
I'm just really good. I'm grateful. I have some homework to do, so thank you.
You're welcome. We all have homework to do, okay? I do too. The things I share with you are real. I have objectives to do. I'm certainly not where I want to be. I have accomplished an enormous amount in my life, probably 3 or 4 lifetimes worth, according to some people. But I have tons of stuff yet to do. So you're welcome. And hopefully for you and Joy and for anyone else that watches this later, this will be helpful and motivating. And we'll see you all next Saturday on another episode of Break the Cage.